All right, we'll get started. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for our Deminar, our demo-focused webinar on how you can transform data into actionable assets faster with a customer data cloud. Now, before we get started, I'm going to cover some basic housekeeping items. This is being recorded and will be available and shared with you after the Deminar. All attendees today are on mute for today's Q&A, but we do want this to be as interactive as possible. So at any time, please feel free to enter any questions that you might have in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If we don't get to your question during the live session, one of our team members will follow up after the webinar to answer your questions. My name is Scott Sugimoto. I am on the product marketing team here at Amperity. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Daniel Perlovsky, our lead product manager owning features such as Amperity Bridge and others. He will be leading the demo that we're going to show in just a few minutes. Now I want to get started with today's agenda. Just a few weeks ago, we launched Customer Data Cloud, an AI-powered infrastructure that helps users organize and democratize customer data more easily than ever before. In this session, we're going to go over a very quick overview of Customer Data Cloud. Then Daniel is going to walk through a live demo, and then we'll end with a Q&A. Remember, please use the question box icon in the GoToWebinar control panel to submit your questions. All right, let's get started. So what is Customer Data Cloud? Customer Data Cloud is the next evolution of Amperity. It's an end-to-end solution designed to meet the changing demands of customers in today's world. Ultimately, what Customer Data Cloud does is it provides companies with customer data clarity. We make it fast and easy to get a better understanding of who your customers are and what they're doing in order to help your business build stronger relationships with them. We designed Customer Data Cloud to be intelligent. It's the fastest solution for understanding your customers today, regardless of how messy your data is. And it's flexible. It's the easiest way to customize models and workflows to fit your business's unique infrastructure. And it's actionable. It's the simplest way to activate a customer 360, which means sharing all of that customer data that you've unified modeled to the tools and teams that need them across your entire ecosystem. And this is a high-level view of how it works. Customer Data Cloud ingests and normalizes any data from any source using AI. So you send us your ecom data, your point of sale data, CRM data, etc. And we're going to take that and ingest it regardless of the schema. Amperity is also built on a lakehouse architecture. So you have zero copy access to customer data in your warehouse. And what you're going to see in today's demo is how customer data that is sitting in Snowflake can be shared with Amperity in a zero copy way. Once data is in or shared with Amperity, our ML-powered identity resolution then helps you unify customer profiles and maintain an identity keychain of all those profiles so it's ready for use in any particular use case. Then our platform helps you quickly build attributes and predictive models so you can easily build your customer 360 and get an accurate view of your customers. Then we can make your customer 360 available for real-time decisioning and also automate sending targeted audiences to any destination in the right format, including to the trade desk and Meta, just to name a few. We also provide assistance through generative AI to help teams explore data on their own. You're going to see all of this, a lot of this in the demo that Daniel's going to do. So why don't I just take the time to pass it over to Daniel, who's going to walk through Customer Data Cloud end to end. Daniel, over to you.
Thanks, Scott. So for today's demo, I'm going to play a role of a director of MarTech who needs to provide an accurate view of their customers for a downstream marketing team who's looking to run a campaign on their high-value customers that are at risk of churning. Now, without quality data to power those efforts, the marketing campaign will just be less effective, resulting in more customers churning from the business. So my team primarily uses Snowflake as our lakehouse and has been bogged down by the hours of data engineering it takes to unify this data and keep up with the constant changes of data sources and schema. So with Amperity's Customer Data Cloud, I can leverage patented AI algorithms to accelerate the time it takes to get that data right and just easily make it available for the teams that need to use it. So we're going to start, and now let me just share my screen. And we're going to start here in Snowflake in my lakehouse. So here you can see I have some point of sale data, some e-commerce data, And within those systems, we have customer data and transaction information. Now, these are two different disparate systems, and the data coming in is just similar, but still completely different. Here we can see we're using CID for customer ID in the point of sale system, and we have customer ID in the e-commerce system. Now, as the number of fields scale and your number of systems scale, this becomes an exponentially difficult problem to kind of keep up with these constant data changes and also just unify the data together. So to start, I'm going to go in and create a secure data share in Snowflake. Now, the reason I really like secure data sharing as a technology, and I've actually created one earlier just to save some time for this seminar, is because all governance and control is actually done in your Snowflake environment. The Amperity system will not have any role in Snowflake. You choose what data you share. So here we can see we have the e-commerce data, some loyalty data, and the point of sale data, all of which is shared to Amperity. So now that we've shared the data, I'm actually going to go into Amperity and with just a few clicks, accept it. So let's go to my Amperity tenant, and here you can see we're on the sources page. And I'm going to go into inbound shares. So I'm going to click Add Bridge here, and you can see we have the different lake houses. We have some sample data to provide with you. You just want to get started with the system. But we're in Snowflake, so let's call this Debinar. And I'm going to add my Snowflake information here. This is pretty easily found if you have access to your Snowflake account. And I'm just going to say the region of my Snowflake account. Confirm. Create a bridge. And now I'm just going to enter the name of the Snowflake share that I have so I can accept that share within Amperity. As we can see, the share is found and we're ready to continue. All right, that's taken us, I think, about 30 seconds. And here we can see the exact tables that we saw in Snowflake available to start exploring and working with in Amperity. So we can look at that e-commerce data. We can see we have those exact same fields that we saw in Snowflake. We could take a look at that sample data. We're able to do all of this without actually having to start even copying the data into the system. So, you just select the tables you want. Let's say I want everything out in this customer's new. And then this data, you're able to map it into an Amperity object. Now, for the sake of time, I've actually already done this ahead of time, and you can see it just takes just a few minutes to get that in. And we have the data in the system to start working with. Now, while we're using Snowflake for this example, we have the same sort of no copy kind of integration with Databricks as well, plus a bunch of classic kind of ETL systems. So if you have data in Amazon S3, Azure Blob Storage, or any of your different CRM or marketing sources that Scott highlighted earlier, we're able to connect with those just as well. So now that I have the data into the system, how do you standardize and normalize it? So a big differentiator with Amperity is instead of kind of doing deterministic matching on different columns, we actually use semantic tagging to normalize and standardize this data. So here we can see we have another e-commerce customers feed, and we can see we have a field called email. That's obviously an email address, but that can be the field email address. It could be email underscore address, and there's just so many different permutations of like what that data can come in as. So by using semantic tagging, and what's also really nice about the Amperity system is we provide a lot of AI-powered assistance to really accelerate the semantic tagging. Just our system has seen a lot of different fields come in, so we tend to know what that data might be, just to help kind of accelerate some of that tedious time to tag all of that data. But yes, once we've standardized and normalized this data, we're ready to put it into Stitch, which is our patented ID resolution algorithm. So, once you semantically tag that data, you just add it to Stitch and you more or less just click run. It's really that simple. But to even take a step back, what is Stitch? What is identity resolution? So here we can see I had a run from this morning, and I took in 135 million source IDs, and we were able to resolve that into about 74 million people. Now, 100 million records is really just the tip of the iceberg of the scale that we're working in. We have customers really going into billions of records, and the system is really built and optimized to function at scale. Now, how do we deduplicate? What is an Amperity ID? Let's dive into a specific example to really highlight that. So Stitch is a machine learning algorithm that's built on, I believe, 40 plus patented ML models. And what it does is it will take in all that input data from the different systems, standardize it with the semantic tags, and then be able to output a cluster of data that has a stable identifier called an Amperity ID that's assigned to it. So let's take a look at Alexandra Samuelson. Here we can see that we have 7 different records coming in from our different systems, all associated with Alexandra. We can see that sometimes she goes by Alex. Her title has changed. She has different email addresses, different phone numbers. She's moved a few times. But, if you looked at all this data, you're like, this is probably the same person. And if we look at the actual cluster, we can see what this kind of looks like. So we actually do pairwise connections to help compare. So at scale, this actually gets stronger and stronger and more accurate. We can see that, from these two systems, we're pretty confident that, okay, you know, we have an exact or approximate match on name, approximate match on email, exact match on phone. And we're able to provide a score to all of these different clusters to kind of help build this one larger cluster. Now, this is fully configurable. The different matching logic obviously depends from different company to different industry. So we try to get you as close to there as possible and then allow configuration on the top and give clear and sort of obvious, understanding of what's happening. We don't want our stitch algorithm to be a full black box. You can also do like add allow lists, block lists, etc., to make sure you are really outputting the right unified customer profile. Okay, so right now where we're at is we've inputted the data, we have assigned a unique amplifier. Now we're on to the data modeling needed to actually make this sort of standardized data usable by a downstream consumer. So we call this kind of the customer 360 layer. And here is where we actually go into and make a unified profile that lets you use that customer record downstream. So let's explore our customer 360 table here. And we can dive into a specific Amperity ID. So let's maybe take a look at Justin Boyer. This is just an example, so see if this is a good record here. And it's going to load all the different customer records associated with it. And here we can see a full customer profile of this customer. We can see, the name, the address, the postal code that's associated with it. We can see the different Stitch records feeding into it. Um, and a big thing as well is not only do we use Stitch to kind of create the unified profile. Once you have that profile, you actually can run this data through a predictive model to not just look at the data that you have, but start predicting attributes. So like, do I think this customer is going to churn? Do I think, what's their lifetime value, not just in the past, but moving forward? And you can add and customize different attributes for your different industry. Travel and hospitality is going to have a much different set of characteristics than retail, and we're able to kind of handle all these different systems here. All right, so once this data is in the system, let's actually, let's explore, let's interact with it even more. So Amperity has a querying system that lets you, start exploring the data. This is not too dissimilar from, any sort of other SQL engine that you might have. So I'm going to put in a query here that just like starts taking a look at the customer 360 from more of a SQL lens. And those that are SQL experts might notice, like, wait a minute, that is not the right logic. So I kind of want to highlight one of our big sort of innovations of the last year, and that's Amperity's AI assistant. So this can take in the data that you have and actually help, debug it. So this is obviously a very simple example here. Select customer 360 limit 10. Now it's going to think and throw out a response to hopefully guide us in the right direction here. There we go. You can say that it's missing a star, which is expected. Let's copy the SQL and just put it back in and be able to run this data. Now, while error handling is great, we also can use the AI assistant. Yeah, you can see this query was successful here. We can use this AI assistant to help us also figure out even what to query. So, who are my top 100 customers by lifetime spend? Well, what's a customer? What's lifetime spend? Our AI assistant is able to kind of infer from the schemas that we have, use that Amperity specific context, and then be able to spit this data back. All right, so we're able to see that we're able to identify our top 100 customers by lifetime spend. We're able to get actually a query that will go from the customer 360 and be able to actually spit something out useful. So we can see it's ordered by lifetime spend. We can see its first name, last name, email, and we can actually see that lifetime spend in order. Now, this is a pretty cool tool and has actually really accelerated the growth of our SQL usage. It's been a huge unlock for both our existing technical users and then also people that are, even newer to SQL and just want to get started exploring the data. But great, now you have this data. So what? How can I activate on this data? So, as I said earlier at the top, our goal is to create a campaign that tries to identify the high value customers that are about to churn. Well, Amperity has a segmentation experience that lets you sort of build out a segment that defines that. Again, what's high value? What's about to churn? How do you actually get those attributes? From this 360, you can actually then start creating useful segments that can help you break down the data for what you want. So we actually can see that Amperity's recommended the segment already. And we can see, okay, I want to match anyone as a predicted customer lifetime value that's at risk or highly at risk. And, they have a lifetime order of over 500. And here we can see a full list of customers. We can see what the revenue is. We can see the different breakdown, the different orders. So get a pretty good understanding of like who is in the segment, what's the actual range of people I'm looking into here. Obviously $54 million is a good segment that you do not want to churn here. Let's actually take a then look at the campaign. So I believe we already have a campaign created here for these customers called high value customers at risk. Here we can see we've included the segment that we just had. And we can see we are able to break down this segment into a control group, into a targeted email. So maybe I want to use Salesforce Marketing Cloud to actually contact my users. We have targeted advertising as well. I want to activate on a paid media source like Facebook ads. And something that's important here with the paid media side is anyone that's working paid media knows that activating to this can be expensive. So you want to make sure your return on ad spend is really right and you're providing the good data of people that are actually high value at risk customers. If you get that data wrong, then what is at risk, what is value, those are just generated in the wrong manner. And you're going to just have much worse match results, much less efficacy here. So it doesn't matter how much you're able to actually activate. You need that sort of key data asset to power it. Great. So one question you might be thinking is, okay, I've ran this campaign. I'm activating to the right people. What if I successfully win back a customer? And what if that happens 30 minutes before I want to send an email? I don't want to spam that customer with ads. I don't want to spam that customer with marketing email. I want to kind of continue to bring that value. So a feature I want to highlight is we have a new feature called real-time tables. What this allows you to do is create a streaming endpoint that circumvents all the other stitch and customer profile processing, which is generally a daily job for a lot of our customers, and lets you essentially say, okay, if I'm getting a purchasing stream and I know someone's purchased, I can use that data coming in and power downstream campaigns and queries to then suppress that logic coming in. So we can both handle the kind of batch daily processing and also those real-time events. So it's a really cool unlock to help you, build a better relationship with your customer and be able to, interact with them in the right manner, which will ultimately lead to more loyalty and a better customer experience, which in the end of the day makes someone come back to your business. Great. So that's a couple of the different activation sources that we do have. We also have the ability to share this data back into a lakehouse like Databricks and Snowflake. At the very beginning, I showed secure data sharing back from Snowflake into Amperity. You can do the exact same thing to make that data available for your data scientists, for your data analysts in your lakehouse. We want this Amperity data to kind of live very natively there. So as you share this data back, that customer 360 will just show up in a three-tiered sort of catalog schema table system as well, and let any of your data analysts be able to interact with that data as it's at rest in Amperity. Um, Amperity is a fully Lakehouse-driven architecture as well. So using some of the cool Lakehouse sharing technologies, we're able to make those Lakehouses point directly at the data. So as it updates, as that customer 360 and Stitch update every day, right away you'll be able to work on the most up-to-date data without having to schedule an ETL pipeline. It's really cool. So the last thing I really want to highlight is AMP AI. And AMP AI is sort of our GPT-like model of being able to interact with the data. So I showed the AI assistant, which is very sort of SQL and query focused, but this is really aimed at making anyone be able to work with the data. So let's start with a question like, can you give me a breakdown of my customers by the predicted value tier from the customer 360? Now, this is, again, what is the value tier? What's the customer 360? What's a customer? You need sort of a really powerful system that can handle that data and give you the right response. So here we're trying to be very transparent in terms of how we're doing what we're doing and what that is. And here we can see that we share with you the exact query. And we can also take a look. It's like, okay, we have low, platinum, platinum's the best tier here, and we can actually get a really good breakdown of the different customers. And obviously, you might want to go a little bit more in depth. So maybe for platinum customers, I want to understand what's the revenue by product subcategory for the platinum customers who purchased during February of last year? Like, pretty understanding of like, okay, like what are our best customers buying? So it's generating a response here. And taking a look at all the different data that we have, we can see we're taking a look at the product subcategory and the sum revenue from our unified itemized transaction, which is one of the standardized data assets that we do have. And we can see that, wow, shoes are really, really killing it with our top customers here. And we get a good understanding of like, what are these people actually buying? Okay, what about, can you graph it? Let's see if we're able to actually make a chart that sort of visualizes this in a better way than a table. Yep, and we can see this data is the same. We can see shoes are still the top value. We can get a good understanding of how our different product lines break down for our best customers as well. And last but not least, what is the preferred channel for these customers? How do I actually want to reach these people? See what we're able to do here. We can see, okay, we know we have a table called preferred channel. We can count the total customers for each channel and make sure we're filtering down for our platinum customers. And we can see that, oh, it even graphed it for us. Paid social is the best way to target them. So now as a business, I know, okay, my customers are buying shoes. They get targeted by paid social. Maybe that's a really good place to sort of invest some of my marketing budget to get the best sort of return on investment there and really drive that bottom line of the business. So that about kind of covers everything I'm going to talk about today. Just to summarize, we're able to take a bunch of Lakehouse data in Snowflake that was completely disparate, stitch it together, build a customer 360 and model it, and activate it through campaigns, suppress it using some real-time data, and also interact with that data through some different AI systems, as well make that data available to my consumers in my Lakehouse. So again, the activation platform, your business probably has a bunch of different ways to do it, but hopefully this was useful in highlighting some of the different ways you can use a unified customer data profile to actually drive um, foundational change in your business. Back to you, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. I always am impressed whenever I see AMP AI and all the AI assistance that it provides. Like it's awesome how you can just ask it a question and then it will like even be even more helpful and provide a graph for you. So thank you for walking through that. So we're coming up to the end of our webinar today. I just wanted to give a quick recap. I know Daniel walked through what he walked through in the demo, but here again is the architecture, so you can get like a high-level view of this. You saw how data was ingested from or shared with Amperity from Snowflake using Amperity Bridge, one of our latest innovations. We also have a bridge to Databricks as well. From there, you saw how we used our ML-powered identity resolution. Daniel mentioned we have the 40 patents on it through what we call Stitch. and we use that to unify customer profiles. You also saw how we generated those attributes and predictive models and then made them available for real-time decisioning through real-time tables, and also automated sending those targeted segments and audiences to any destination through the creation of segments. I think we showed Meta and the Trade Desk and other connectors as well as like Braze. So we have hundreds of connectors and destinations we can send the data to. Daniel also provided a glimpse of AI Assistant, AMP AI, which really helps teams, especially non-technical ones, explore data on their own. I know for our own customers, we hear a lot of people saying they're learning SQL or they're actually training themselves on how to write SQL, even though they're not non-technical, but they need to know it in order to run queries and research the data. And AI Assistant is just super helpful in enabling them really to go and do that. So a lot more to come on that space as well. So, and with that, we are at the Q&A section. I just want to thank everyone who joined the call. And if you want to learn more, you can look at our blog. We have a QR code with the direct link to the announcement blog for Customer Data Cloud. You can also email me directly if you want, or email Daniel, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Um, Speaking of questions, looking at what we have come in, Daniel, we have one about the announcement. So our announcement mentioned bring your own storage. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amperity generates new data assets from your raw data. So, Stitch outputs a new set of data. The Customer 360 is a set of tables, and that all lives in cloud storage in a lakehouse architecture. Now, one of our big new innovations is with Bring Your Own Storage, we can actually store that data in a storage account or S3 bucket that lives fully in your ecosystem. So, Stitch will compute, custom database generation will compute it, and will write it right back into your ecosystem. We still have an ability for Amperity to manage that in a secure, customer isolated way. But, we think from a security perspective, from a governance perspective, being able to control your storage and being able to, plug into all of your different monitoring systems out of the box, you know, with whatever your cloud architecture is today, is a super powerful way to really have this data live fully within your ecosystem. Because again, we want this data to be available to anyone in your business that can get value from it. And when it lives in your ecosystem, that's a whole lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. I also think we're at time. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. So I'm going to just wrap it up. Again, thanks everyone who joined the call. It was super in depth. We went end to end. And it's always awesome just to see the platform and all the features. And I'm super excited about everything that Customer Data Cloud is bringing. So thanks, Daniel, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Second, apologies for the technical difficulties with my headphones.